Hey guys, Viscose24 here, bringing you a real quick redstone video, and today I'm going to be showing you basically just how to power your door from a different location, and how to switch it all to a button. So not a lot of people know how to do this, and I'm going to be using this door as an example, and then moving on to some bigger ones later to show you that it just works with all of them. So, as you can see right here, if I flick this lever right here, the door closes and opens. This is just a variation of my 5x5 vault door. So yeah, you see it works, it's quite speedy, got that set. This right here is the input. If I just get out a block, you can see that this block right here is the input. I usually don't color code, but if you want to, you can use wool or even concrete to mark your inputs using just any color as long as you remember. And so I'm just going to mark it so you guys can see where the inputs are. Now right there is the input. Now if I want to wirelessly power this, all I have to do is simply, put my power source wherever I want it. Say I want to have the power source here. Now obviously redstone dust can't reach that far. So, as you all might know, repeaters extend the signal from 15 to just a simple 15 signal strength to another 15, add on 1 to 4 ticks. So as you can see, right here is where the redstone stops. So you can just put a repeater right there, and it'll power the door. Click this lever again. You can see it's almost as though I have the lever right here, but it's just, being powered separately. Now here is a real quick tip that not a lot of people know. If you want to save on redstone wire, as you can see right there, I've made a little V shape. I have lots of little V's in my doors as well, so nothing new here. Just put a repeater right there, and it will all act the exact same, because the dust is soft powering this block here, which then powers the repeater running out from the block, that then hard powers this block, powering the dust. Now right there's just a little life hack that I use for very long wires in survival worlds. So yeah, now that you see that that works, all powers, all powers. Now to get on to actually switching the input to a button. So for most doors on all versions, the input will be a lever, because levers are just a lot easier to work with. They give constant signals, and you don't have to work with pulse length or anything like that. Alright, and I just casually break all that. Okay, now, levers just give constant signals, so you don't really have to work with pulse length or any stuff like that. It's just a, good old reliable. But most people like buttons, and not as many people know how to actually switch it over to buttons. So here's very quickly how you do it. In order for you to have it as a button, you have to have a T flip-flop somewhere along the line for your connector. I'm just going to build this out to here, and then put my button right there. So you have to have a T flip-flop somewhere along the line, and basically what a T flip-flop does is it takes a pulse, like a single pulse, and converts it into a constant signal, and it can be switched on and off. Most of you already knew that, but for those of you who didn't, now you know. The average T flip-flop is generally done like this. You get out your droppers, put one facing up, crouch, put one on top of it, like so, and then put, while crouching, and hopper running into that one. Then on top of the hopper, put a comparator facing out, like so, and then a block right there. And that's pretty much the hopper dropper T flip-flop completely done. So you can say I have a garbage block that I can throw away, and I just put it in the top dropper right like that, and there you go. It's pretty much it. You can put your button or your input right there. Yep, as you can see, it takes a pulse and turns it into either an on or off constant signal. So that's basically how the T flip-flop works. But this T flip-flop has a bit of an issue with block updates, and I've linked a video in the description that better displays it. But as you can see, it doesn't always work. The block these are giving block updates and redstone updates to the dropper, which means that it won't always actually work. So I've got a alternate T flip-flop that I've actually been using a lot. It's very, very big and expensive, so if you're okay with unreliability, you can go with the hopper dropper one. But this one right here is what I use. And so there are a few technicalities with it. First off, you have to put dust on those two pistons. And secondly, you need at least a 3-tick pulse in order for it to work 100%. But as you can see, that's basically just how it works. Give it a 3-tick pulse, and it switches. And so, just for the sake of this, just for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using that T flip-flop in my examples, and it's very, very easy to incorporate. You just have to build it into one of your doors, sort of like that. So you have 2 pistons on the bottom, facing in with 2 blocks in between, and then right above that, 2 pistons back to back, facing outwards like that. Now you're going to want to start off by placing either a block in one of these 2 spots here. It would normally be a redstone block, but if you don't want to have to do redstone blocks, you can also put 2 torches down there like so, in any configuration like that, and you will just simply leave that like that to prove it to you. And then you have to put a block or a redstone block in, just like that. Now one of the top pistons should activate. Whichever block wherever you place the block, the one above that should activate. Then on these pistons, you can put redstone block there and there. Now once you have that, you can put your dust, and then because I'm using a button, I don't have to put the 3-tick repeater, but if you were using an observer, you would have to put the 3-tick repeater. As you can see, they switch sides. And if I quickly run a bit of redstone wire into our powering block like so, as you can see, it works like a lever, but it's a button. And the really, I guess, most useful thing about using a button is the fact that you can then take the button and you can take the wire running into the T flip-flop and simply power it from anywhere, and it'll work the same. And I'm just going to make a real quick redstone line running all the way there. So you've already seen this works just fine. But because I've just hooked up another button to the T flip-flop, it's like powering the exact same button from a different place. So this is a really useful feature for anyone trying to remotely power their doors or just have an easier way to power from both sides. And the T flip-flop is actually quite a useful thing to use. So, and I'm also going to be showing you how to spam-proof a door. So I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video, and I've had to switch worlds, so, you know, in this world. You might have already seen this video, but it's my compacted 10x10 double cave door, but as you can see, this thing takes ages to close, and as you can see, right now it has just gone through the full closing sequence, and when I flick the lever again, you'll see it all opens, and it also takes ages to fully open. There we go. And now it is done with the opening sequence. So now, if you were to build a door on this scale or at that speed, obviously it would not be spam-proofed. It's very, very hard to spam-proof doors, like within the wiring. So I've got a solution for this. So most T flip-flops will work, and yeah, the way that this extender will work is it'll work for both a lever and a button, but preferably no, actually it'll only work for a button. Sorry, forgot about that. In order for the lever to work, you'd have to run it through an observer first. But the way that it'll work is pretty much what I've got built over here. So this right here appears to be glitched out. Oh, I have actually never seen this before. Might be a new bug. Yeah, this is a bug. Okay, so what I had done is I had set up a pulse extender, comparator pulse extender, as you saw right there, and apparently if you offload these things, they'll get stuck in that mode. But yeah, comparator pulse extender, I guess that's a bug with this thing. But I guess any pulse extender will do. It's just comparator pulse extenders are best for huge amounts of time in a small area. Hopper-dropper pulse extenders are kind of difficult to get working for this thing because they take a good while to actually turn off and on. So if I just give that observer an update, you'll see that that extends and actually switches the T flip-flop over, like immediately. Then it'll eventually run out, as you can see right there, and it'll be ready for use again. Now for this, I'm just going to put a lever down to show that you can use a lever on an observer for this. There you go. As you can see, it's immediately switched sides as soon as that got to there. And once the pulse extender dies, I guess you could say, or runs out, it will, there you go, get all set. So, now that you've seen that, this is basically the way that this works is it gives a pulse equal to the amount of comparators in at some point into one of these redstone dusts. Preferably, you would do this over at this point where you have a block up, because this is just the most convenient area to give an input. And so as you can see, we have 8 comparators, so 8 ticks. We have a repeater on 4 ticks there, and then another repeater on 4 ticks locking it, so that the way that it'll work is pretty much just get 4 ticks from that repeater, but once you depower this spot, it'll take 4 ticks for that to turn off, and then another 4 ticks for that to turn off, thus giving you 8 ticks in total, which is quite convenient, considering this pulse extender right here is pretty much exactly what you need to spam-proof that big door right over there. So the beauty of this kind of setup, along with the buttons and the T flip-flop that I showed you earlier in the video, is that you don't really have to build it right up at the input. So the input blocks are pretty much just these blocks right here with the dust on them. So these will have to be slabs or glass, and these right here will have to be glass. But if you power the dust, the entire door will just be powered, and that's just how it'll work. So those are all of your input blocks, meaning that you have a lot of freedom as to where you put your input. For this, what I'm going to be doing is simply running in a redstone torch tower. Or actually, no, that'll just complicate things. I will just be running in a simple dust tower. But pretty much what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get your setup down into whatever area you think would be best for your pulse extender to be in. Just like so. And once you've set up your pulse extender, as long as it needs to be, it'll take a few times of trial and error to get it right, but eventually you will get the right pulse length. You're going to want to build your T flip-flop that I showed you earlier. Yeah, I'm just going to use blocks of redstone for this one. And then you can take an output from whichever state you want it to be on or off. It doesn't matter, it'll be the exact same. And then you have to simply run your redstone dust up into your door, or whatever contraption you're trying to power. So I just tried to eliminate as much glass as I could, but you don't have to. And then once you've done that, your entire setup will be almost ready. So again, if you want to have a lever input, you should have an observer that is observing the lever that then has repeaters lock each other. It's usually the best way to go about doing this. And so now, once I've got this set up, you should be able to see that the door all starts to close, just like that. As you can see, those depower. If I go down here, as they've depowered, so has this pulse extender. So now the door is pretty much just, it's ready to be used again. It's been spam-proofed. So if I give another update to the observer, you'll see it'll all start to open. And you can see the pulse extender right down there and the door. As that finishes, so does the pulse extender. And that's pretty much just how you will spam-proof any door. You have a pulse extender that's roughly the exact same pulse extension length as the amount of time that your door takes to close and open. And a T flip-flop that makes it so that you can, activate and deactivate it. It's a very, very complicated sounding method, but it's actually quite simple because all you have is input, pulse extender, T flip-flop that then runs into the door. And that's pretty much just it. That is how this whole thing works, and that is how you have a bunch of different, quality of life additions to your door. You have the button input, the how to move where your input is for the door, and how to spam-proof it. But yeah, that's just about it for this video. I'm Viscose24, and I'll see you next time. It is yet again that time where I have to cuss, so the copper cannot get me. Fuck. See y'all later, bye.